Another one of my favorite animated shows, Darkwing Duck. Oh yeah, the Disney show that I watched as a kid the most. Basically, Darkwing Duck is a stay-at-home dad by day, but at night he's Darkwing Duck, the superhero that is trying to save the city of Saint Canard from certain danger. Darkwing is the Out of all the superheroes I know, Darkwing is the most sassy and cocky. He always thinks he's doing the best job he could, but he always messes up at it, and he sure as heck isn't the best superhero, but you really do feel sorry for him because all he's trying to do is get the job done and protect the city. And not to mention he is really funny. Also, a lot of the villains he faced were pretty cool, like Negaduck and Megavolt and whatnot. The glue that held this show together was it was both a tribute and parody of superhero shows at that time, which which made it enjoyable for both people who didn't like superheroes and for people who did like superheroes. Another one of my favorite shows, Superman the Animated Series. I just recently completed watching the complete series of this show, and I was actually very surprised. This show was actually very well done and awesome. Because when I think of Superman, I think of like cheesy storylines and that kind of stuff. But no, this show actually took Superman in a different direction. He's not the super strong being that is able to move planets. In this show, he's actually has challenges, and sometimes it's hard for him to face them and get them done. And this show also has very mature and dark storylines like Batman. Superman the Animated Series was basically the Batman the Animated Series treatment to Superman, and it's actually very well pulled off, and it has the same effect that Batman has on you. And my next favorite show is Justice League. Yeah, I know, I'm getting repetitive with superhero shows, am I? Don't worry, it'll end soon. Here's the idea for Justice League. If you thought Batman teaming up with Superman was awesome, how about Batman and Superman teaming up with almost every freaking superhero that DC ever put their names on? Yeah, that's Justice League. Justice League was basically different from the old Super Friends show. Justice League, like almost every show in the DC animated universe, took a darker turn on the superheroes you know and love, and actually portrayed them the way they were supposed to be portrayed. Justice League holds up because you like seeing them work as a team, and sometimes you feel like, oh no, this team might break up, and it really works very, very well, which is why I like it so much. Not to mention the storylines are very, very good, as it adapts storylines from the comics as well, and as well as makes its own storylines up. Justice League is also full of action, and you can't help but to love it if you're a superhero. Another one of my favorite shows is Ren and Stimpy. Yeah, you guys saw this coming. Like Invader Zim, I really don't know why I like this show. I don't know whether I like how crazy it is, how much it doesn't make sense, or how much gross it is. I don't even like gross stuff, and yet the gross stuff on Ren and Stimpy always sometimes has my like. I don't know why, but it just entertains the heck out of me. It basically follows the misadventures of a Chihuahua named Ren and a stupid cat named Stimpy, and the kind of stuff they get themselves into. Some of the storylines don't make any sense, or make a lot of sense at the same time. This show just seems like it was made by a little kid on the ultimate of a sugar high. It's just so insane and crazy, yet genius at the same time. I don't ever think I would be able to talk about a show like this. It's crazy. But anyway, Ren and Stimpy has always been my favorite show from Nick, and it's hard for me to say why, but I don't know. It's just cool. Another one of my favorite shows is Gargoyle, the Disney show that showed Disney is able to pull off a dark and mature series. Basically, it follows the adventures of these gargoyles brought back to life in modern New York City that are trying to protect the city from an evil millionaire named Xanatos, as well as stop a wide variety of other villains. Reason why this show was so good because it both appealed to kids and adults. The adults could get the storylines and a lot of the stuff that happened in it, and the little kids could like the animation and the action and whatnot. But when I was a little kid, I didn't like this show that much because I didn't like the way that people treated the gargoyles. I thought it was mean, but it was because I just didn't understand it, because prejudice exists and the people just didn't like the gargoyles because they were different from them. But now that I rewatch this show, it is pretty dang good. Basically Disney's answer to Batman the Animated Series, and Gargoyles is basically one of the best shows Disney ever put its name on. Another one of my favorite shows is Dragon Ball Z. Heck yeah, you knew this was coming. Dragon Ball Z is basically about the Z fighters that are basically always being invaded by aliens, are always going to other planets, and the aliens are always trying to attack them, and the bad guys are always trying to get out of these Dragon Balls to wish for immortality to gain strength. Repetitive? Yes. Kinda stupid? Maybe. But we don't care. All we care about is the action. Yeah, the action is friggin' awesome. It's action that you didn't even think could be pulled off by using two hands to animate. The action is awesome. Although sometimes the show doesn't make sense with the whole, oh, how come he was weak later, but now he's strong enough to beat the other person? We didn't care. All we care about is the action. The action is awesome. Most of the show is basically filler, and it's like, oh, this is boring, get to the action. But that's okay. The action is there to balance it out. The action always makes up for the boring filler. And a lot of the villains some of the villains basically seem one-dimensional, and they're all after the same thing, and a lot of them basically have the same personalities. But we don't care. We just want to see the action. The action is friggin' awesome. Dragon Ball Z is awesome. This is the only anime that I can say I'll go out of my way to see. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, people. But, hey, at least I picked a good one, right? Yeah, Dragon Ball Z is awesome. Mainly because of the action. Thank you, Akira Toriyama. Another one of my favorite shows, this may be another shocker to you, is Beavis and Butthead. Yeah. You guys would not expect me to like this show since I'm basically always bashing how dumb teenagers are, but I can't help it. That's the reason why I like it so much, because it accurately portrays how a lot of teenagers act and are. This show was tailor-made for the 90s, at a time where metalhead teenagers were all over the place and teenagers were always doing stupid stuff. Beavis and Butthead basically follows the little mini adventures of these two numbskull teens that are always getting themselves into situations, and they're not always the one that are getting punished. Sometimes it's the people around them that are getting punished, which makes you feel sorry that they're like, oh, all this trouble is caused just because of those two idiots? Yeah, you might think, how can you think this show is so funny? You don't like sexual humor and that kind of stuff. I know, but the way Beavis and Butthead portrays it, it just makes me laugh. Like when Butthead's like, he said would. I can't help but to laugh because I can picture real teenagers saying that kind of stuff. It's just so funny, and I can understand it. Beavis and Butthead is in my opinion, the best thing MTV ever made, and it definitely has a spot on my favorite cartoons list. Another one of my favorite shows is Phineas and Ferb. Yeah, I bet you wouldn't expect a modern cartoon to be up on my favorites list, but I can't help it. This show is just a godsend. We need a cartoon like this in the midst of how bad cartoons are these days. Phineas and Ferb is basically about these two stepbrothers that try to have the best days of summer ever, and they always build stuff and try to have fun with it. while meanwhile they're trying to be busted by their sister Candace, but she never succeeds at all. And meanwhile, while this is going on, Perry the Platypus is trying to stop their pet Perry the Platypus is trying to stop the evil Dr. Doofenshmirtz from doing evil stuff. It is formula driven, but that no matter what, it always offers something new to the series, and it's actually very well done, and it's hilarious. It's one of the few modern cartoons these days that is actually funny and I can laugh at. And basically, it's the best Disney Channel show on now. And this show needs all the ratings it can get to show Disney that we need more shows like this. Phineas and Ferb, thank you. Another one of my favorite shows is Garfield and Friends. Yeah, how can you be a fan of Garfield and not like this show? Basically, it's the comic but turned into animated form with a little twist added in. It adds in another comic created by Jim Davis called U.S. Acres, but it's called Orson's Farm in this show. And basically the Garfield parts of the episodes are what he normally gets, basically the kind of stuff you would see him get into if you read the comics. And the Orson's Farm parts of the episode are basically just problems around the farm and whatnot. And yeah, this show sometimes does feel kind of bland, but it's Garfield. So you gotta like it, and it's hilarious. Yeah, Garfield and Friends is awesome. Most of you probably think of what I think of the new Garfield show on Cartoon Network, and all I can say is it's just not Garfield. And another one of my favorite shows is Pinky and the Brain, the show about the two lab mice that are always trying to take over the world. Yeah, this is a show you have to be really smart to know how to understand it and really get the jokes about it. And it's very funny and well done. It's like you didn't think you would think you can't make a show that's where every episode is about taking over the world, but this show pulls it off very well. And the characters are very well developed. Brain is the smart one, always trying to get stuff done. Pinky is the dumb one that is trying to help, but he's not going to get help as anyhow. And the plots they come with are very clever, and they come so close, but yet they don't make it. Also, like Invader Zim, the humans in this show are stupider than are stupid. Pinky and the Brain, you're great.